Cabinet Secretary, Mr. P.K. Sinha, incoming CII President, Ms. Kamineni, CII current President, Mr. Banerjee, my colleague Ramesh Abhishek, distinguished members of CII, ladies and gentlemen. At the outset, I am acutely conscious that this is a post-lunch session just before the concluding session of the CII two-day conference, so I will keep my remarks very brief. First of all, I must compliment CII for the theme of this conference, the future of globalization, can India lead? Because I think this is a very moot question. It is moot not just for the 1.25 billion Indians, for whom a lot more has to be done, but even globally, now that China's growth has slowed down somewhat, even though it's still very robust at plus 6%. But the whole world is looking for the new growth engine. And the question on everybody's mind is, can India step up and fill in that space of China? And so can India be the new growth engine for the world? This poses certain challenges for India. We know that there are many areas where we have to do a lot more work. But having said that, all of us, I'm sure, realize in a sense that India also perhaps has an unprecedented opportunity. India is, in many respects, in a very sweet spot. First of all, in the last year, India did emerge as the world's fastest growing large economy. And we have it from credible sources that India's growth will continue to be very robust. This is also coming not on the back of a sudden growth spike, but on the back of more than a decade of strong growth. Second, both in terms of our demographic profile and in terms of the digital profile, I think we do have a lot of room for optimism. Therefore, I think it is of paramount importance that both government and industry work together to identify how we can harness this unprecedented opportunity. The first point that I want to make here is that, in a sense, Reform 2.0 has already begun to unfold around us. The reforms may not be very visible, but the transformation is clearly visible. And that is because while the milestone-based reforms have already happened, India is now trying to make a paradigm change. We are trying to move into a culture of reform, into a mindset of change, where we can continue to remain competitive and on par with the rest of the world, if not do much better. What are some of these reforms which we can point out as heralding Reform 2.0? We know that finally, after 70 years of independence, the promise of India as a single market, whether it is the GST or the single agricultural market, these are finally beginning to happen. For the last 70 years, we have actually had a confederation of 30 states. It is for the first time going forward that industry will be able to actually harness the large domestic market that India represents. Second, in terms of FDI, and ease of doing business. I think what had been left undone in the first phase of reform, a lot of it has been done and is continuing to get done. Thirdly, as far as establishing the big technology platforms for the future are concerned, whether it is the Aadhaar platform, which will service 1 billion with digital identities, or whether it is the mobility platform, which again will enable 1 billion Indians to participate in the economic and social mainstream, or whether it is the digital payments platforms. For the first time, we have the possibility that 1 billion Indians can actually join the Indian market. They have been there, but as the world grows more and more digital, there was a real chance that many of them would get left out. Again, we believe that digital payments is not just going to transform the business of individual to individual lending or borrowing or transferring money, but that it will for the first time enable not asset-based lending, but would enable activity-based lending. That it will actually track economic activity and bring credit to those who need to participate or who desire to participate. We must remember that as late as 2013, we were still finding 600 million Indians out of financial inclusion. Even today, we have only 145 million who have access to credit. We need to take it all the way to 500, 600, 700, 800 billion. So the growth is actually ahead of India. Unlocking this growth, unlocking the productivity, these are the big challenges, but this is a good problem to have. Very few countries have this kind of challenge or this opportunity. Again, urbanization. We know that urban reform is fundamental to growth because we know that all of modern economic growth has been centered around urban locations. Our urban cities have been groaning under several challenges. But now, for the first time, with the kind of smart technologies that are available, we have a possibility to reorganize and unlock urban value. So, let me come to my own field, which is IT and the digital world. We know that whether it is unlocking productivity or ensuring that India stays competitive, the kind of competencies that we bring in the digital world are going to be absolutely critical. What this government has done is to use digital technologies to drive inclusion. I mentioned about the 600 million Indians who are excluded financially, weld the country into one single market through GST, leapfrog conventional infrastructure and access barriers, such as digital payments. We know that we were a country which in 30 years had around 1.5 million points of sale. In the last 4 months alone, India has doubled its digital payment infrastructure. Today we have more than 3 million points of sale. And by the end of this year, we expect that this would have increased 3-fold. So certainly, transformation is happening. Reform is happening. But having said that, we do acknowledge in the government that we have a long way to go, and we do look forward to industry's insights and suggestions on how to move forward even faster. Again, in terms of governance, the DBT, this is in a sense the largest disintermediation program of its kind in the world. For the last 50 years, we have had 200, 300 million Indians who were dependent on a local village officer or a gram panchayat to certify who they were and enable them to access their entitlements. Today, we have a situation where the central government is directly able to interact with its citizen, and more importantly, where the citizen is able to get his entitlements directly from the state. We have cut out almost 11 layers of intermediation just in this one program of direct benefits transfer. But this needs to happen across the board, and although we have begun, we do hope that we will be able to complete or bring about this kind of disintermediation through the faceless, paperless, cashless initiatives that the government is currently spearheading. And also on the manufacturing side, because manufacturing is a subject that is of crucial importance, we have seen that in the last 2 years in the field of IT and electronics, for the first time after 15 years, India's electronics bill has started showing a decline. 2014, the government first introduced the duty differential so that for the first time, Indian electronics manufacturers would be able to compete with cheap electronics imports. As a result of that, in the last 2 years, we have seen 70 mobile manufacturing companies come into India. And we are seeing that global electronics and other companies are wanting to come into India. So, in conclusion, I just want to say that this is probably a very, very significant and valuable opportunity for us in the government and the industry to sit together and draw up the roadmaps of where we would like India to be and how we need to get there together. Thank you.